Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. We're here for a brand new video and more content on the new Wolves signing Nathan Collins. As you can see, alongside me today, we've got Joe from the Turfcast channel. Joe, appreciate you jumping on. A big signing for Wolves, obviously Nathan Collins. And every time I've had conversations with you, we've done shows on different channels and so on. Somehow his name always seemed to come up in conversation. So I think
Yeah.
that's how highly you rate this guy. But can you tell the Wolves fans a little bit more, obviously, since he's moved from Stoke, how he's broken into the Burnley team and him as a player overall?
Yeah, well, he came in obviously at the start of last season. I think it was sometime in August last season before the window actually closed. And it was always a case of he's probably going to be a backup here. Obviously, we had Talker, we had Benny at the time. And he was a backup and he played again. I think his first game came against Rochdale in the Cup. And he actually looked a little bit shaky, if I'm being honest with you, in that game. But then that's pretty much the only time he really did look shaky. He's had his moments where he's, like, which I'm sure we'll get into. I think the best way of describing him is it's a bit of a cliche, but sort of like a rough diamond. Like he's going to be a very, 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 very good defender. I honestly believe in 2 years he'll even probably have moved on from Wolves to go to maybe a top 4 club, a top 6 club if Wolves aren't there at that point. I do think he can play at the highest level. He's one of them defenders that he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. You know, he's good in the air. He scores a couple of goals. He scored. I can't remember who he scored against, but he scored for us last season. And he's a decent passer as well. I think my only issue with him is he has silly moments, but he's still only young. He's what, 21, 22? I can't remember off the top of my head. He's very, very young for a defender. Obviously, cast your mind back to the day we got relegated, and he was pretty silly with the handball. Don't know if you've seen it. And when we played against Brentford, he got sent off in that, just a lunge. That's what. But he's a very, very good defender. I'm not criticising him. It's just you get rid of them moments, and he's up there with, or will be up there with some of the best in the league. But at the minute, them moments are there. But he's only young. Them moments are going to be eradicated. He is, like I said, it is a rough diamond, and he'll play for a top 4 club.
Yeah, I'm glad you've mentioned those moments, though, because every 9 times out of 10 or 9 sort of tweets out of 10 that I read, they're all positive. I have seen a couple of people mention those moments, the handball in particular. But I didn't want Burnley fans to keep raving about him, and he has a stinker on the first game for Wolves, and people are like, well, what's this? What have you flogged this here? But I think it's good to know that he's a young player. Obviously, he's still going to make mistakes as well.
Yeah.
So it's an undisclosed fee, but the reports are saying it's just over £20 million. From your point of view, Joe, do you think this is a good deal for Burnley? Do you think Wolves have got the better end of the deal, or do you think it's about right in terms of value?
I think on the face of it, you've got the better part of the deal. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of the deal, the clauses in the contract. Like you said, I think it was John Percy, who's a reporter down your neck of the woods. He was sort of like saying it's 20.5 million, which a lot of the local journalists around here were also saying it's around that mark. But there's sell-on clauses and potential add-ons. Say, for example, if we had a 45% sell-on clause of any profit, then I believe that we'd have a very good part of that deal. But the player that you're getting for 20 million, bear in mind, you know, Nathan Aki went to Man City for, what was it, 40 million? I think Ben Godfrey's last move was 25 million. You know, he's better than Godfrey now. He's better than Godfrey now. It's one of them. You're definitely on the better side of the deal, because 20 million for Nathan Collins is very, very good. I'm hoping from a Burnley perspective that we have at least a 20% sell-on clause of any profit. Apparently Stoke have got a sell-on clause of the profit that we've got as well. So I think we made about £8 million profit. So, you know, my maths is terrible. So I'm going to guess that they've got around 1.5 million, something like that. So we've not got a lot of profit out of it. But yeah, fingers crossed, because like I said, I do believe he'll be at Wolves 2, maybe 3 years max, and then a really, really big club will come calling, or God forbid, I don't think you will, but say, for example, if you went down next season, which I think is very, very, very unlikely, be another scenario where he'd probably... No, I don't think he'd push to move through. So I was going to say push to move. I don't think he'd push to move through, but he'd want to move. But yeah, I think you're definitely on the better side of this deal as it stands.
Did you expect him to stay at Burnley, even though you went down? Obviously, it been sort of a month or so, and we'd been linked with him over the last month, but nothing seemed to be close. Were you expecting him to be part of Burnley's plans for this season?
Yeah, I was. I do. Like I said, he is a very good defender. I just felt that playing under somebody like Company, who is one of the best defenders, he's a Premier League Hall of Fame defender. He's a captain. Sorry, a title-winning captain. He captains his country at the World Cup. I just thought that might have made him want to stay a little bit. at least another year. It'd have been the first name on the team sheet, whereas last year he wasn't. You know, I think he played 19 games for us or something like that, but a lot of them were either in the cups or when Ben Mee or Tarky were injured. I think that this is what's undone us, and it undid us last year as well. I think it's why we got relegated. Ben Mee were injured for around 3 months towards the end of last season. So then Nathan Collins stepped in and played quite a lot of games, and people started realising how good he actually was when we already knew how good he was. So I remember saying to you on, like you say, different channels going, oh, well, if Tarky does leave, which was expected, Nathan Collins and Ben Mee would be a really good centre-back pairing in the Championship. Obviously, we ended up losing them both. But it's quite frustrating that if it wasn't for Ben Mee's injury, Collins wouldn't have been playing, so therefore Collins would probably still be at Turf Moor now. So I think that's kind of undone us doubly, this Ben Mee injury. But yeah, I'm gutted he's gone. It's the one that's hurt the most because of the price and what I think he can achieve. But it's not the hardest hitting, if that makes sense. Hardest hitting, I think, would have been Ben Mee. But yeah, he's very good, and I think you'll sell him on for quite a lot of money in a few years. But yeah, I'm surprised he's left, if I'm honest.
Now, we're sort of at the moment unsure how Wolves are going to set up next season. Obviously, we've seen for the last few years we've played with a 5 at the back. There's rumours and thoughts that we may switch to a back 4 next season. If, say for argument's sake, we're in a back 5, I'd assume he'd sit on the right of a back 3. I've seen some of his videos of him getting the ball and driving forward with it. Did you ever really get to see that much for Burnley in his time there?
Not really on the dice for obvious reasons. But that's another thing that I thought might have wanted him to stay, because Collins Company does play a more possession-based style, so I'd have been interested to see him, in that sort of role. And we've got a lot of youngsters at the club now. Obviously, we signed Harewood Bellis from City, Egan Riley from City, McNally from Oxford. So these are all 3 young defenders that have come in, and we've lost 3 experienced defenders. So I would have thought he'd have been like the linchpin in that defence and in that back 5. However, Company's going to play again, it's a little bit up in the air at the minute. But I'd have liked to have seen him drive with the ball in that sort of system. But obviously, we're not going to. So it is one of them where I do think he will be good for stuff like that, driving with the ball. But I'll have to watch him obviously in Wolves colours now. But yeah, it would have been good to watch him do that.
And if Wolves do switch to a back 4, Bruno Lage tends to play quite a high line. Do you think he's got the pace and the physical attributes to be able to keep up with a high line?
Again, it's not really one that I saw him do very often because Burnley's line was quite deep. It's been quite a common theme, though, with defenders leaving Burnley and getting caught out by high lines. Michael Keane is the main one at Everton. He tends to get caught out a lot. I do think he's better than Michael Keane, though, or will be better. And I think he's a bit faster than Michael Keane, but time will tell with that one. Yeah, I didn't really see him do that much sprinting back towards his own goal for because of our deep defensive line.
Yeah, and I think he's played against us 3 times so far in his career. He's got a clean sheet in every game, once for Stoke, twice obviously for Burnley as well. I mean, from what you've said, I think I know the answer, but do you think Nathan Collins will continue to be a success both at Wolves and in the Premier League?
Yeah, and Ireland as well. I think he's a future potential captain of Ireland. I think he will. If Ireland ever get to a World Cup again, I think he could even potentially captain Ireland at a World Cup. But yeah, like I said, I think he'll be at Wolves probably 2-3 years, depending on where you are in the league and how well Wolves are doing, and then potentially move on to a Champions League club. I can honestly see him doing that well. But it's one of them, like, will he suit a high line? That's probably the biggest question mark over at the minute. But I honestly think he will. I think he's a very, very good defender. He has got more pace than Michael Keane, just going back to an earlier example. But yeah, I do think he'll go from strength to strength. And I think you'll sell him on for a lot of money in a few years, which, if we have a good sell-on clause, will obviously be good news for us at that point.
No, brilliant, Joe. I really do appreciate your time. I'll be sure to leave a link to Joe's channel, Turfcast, in the description. We also did an article on our website with the scout that found Nathan Collins when he was just 14 years old in Ireland as well. So I'll make sure I leave a link to that in the top of the description. And be sure to hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you all very, very soon.